There is a powerful moment every woman over 50 deserves to understand. A moment that reveals more truth about a mature man's heart than any words he could ever speak. It happens in the first seconds after you enter a room, before he has time to compose himself, before he can hide what he feels, before he can decide how he wants to appear. His body reacts long before his mind catches up. And that reaction, that instinctive shift, is one of the clearest windows into how deeply he is drawn to you. I am Dr. Lisa Perriera, a gynecologist with more than 30 years of experience working with women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And if there is one thing I have learned from decades of listening, observing, and guiding women your age, it is this. Mature men express desire differently. It is quieter, more careful, more controlled, but never weak. In fact, it is stronger. Because at this stage of life, men do not waste emotional energy on someone who does not matter. Their reactions become more authentic, more honest, and more revealing. And once you learn how to read these signals, you will never doubt what he feels again. Now, before we go deeper, I want to ask you something simple but important. Tell me where you are watching from. Are you in the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, or another beautiful place in the world? Your answers help me understand the incredible community of women I am supporting. And truly, it warms my heart to see women from so many countries growing, learning, and reconnecting with confidence together. Let us continue. A mature man can control his words, but he cannot control the first 3 seconds of his body's response to you. I have seen this everywhere, at dinner tables, at community events, in waiting rooms. When a woman he feels drawn to steps into his space, something shifts. His posture changes. His chest lifts slightly as if his body suddenly remembers its strength. His shoulders roll back in an unconscious attempt to appear grounded. His breathing shifts into a quiet, deeper inhale he does not even realize he is taking. His voice softens if he speaks. His eyes brighten, even if he looks away quickly, and his feet, without fail, angle subtly in your direction. The body points to what the heart wants. Many women mistake these reactions for simple politeness. They think he's just being nice or he's just friendly. But what they do not see is the emotional layer underneath. Men in their 50s, 60s, and 70s do not react this way to everyone. They save their energy. They guard their vulnerability. They carry years of life experience that taught them to be cautious. So when his body reacts instantly, without hesitation, without thought, it is not politeness. It is desire that has slipped past his control. I remember a patient in her early 60s telling me she thought a gentleman she often met at church events was simply respectful. But she noticed something interesting. Every time she walked into the room, his posture straightened, his attention broke from whatever conversation he was in, and his energy focused in her direction. She thought nothing of it. Until one day, another woman entered before her. He did not move, not an inch. But the moment she arrived, everything shifted. His entire presence softened. That is the difference. Men do not perform these reactions for everyone, only for the woman who stirs something inside them. And here is the part I want you to hold on to. Mature desire is never loud. It does not rush. It does not push. It reveals itself in the quietest ways, in these small physical shifts that speak louder than confessions, in the way he subconsciously prepares himself when you appear, in the way your presence sparks something in him he cannot fully hide. And if you have ever wondered why a man may show interest with his body, yet stay cautious with his words, it is because he knows exactly what falling feels like at this age. He knows the weight of real connection. He knows the risk. He knows the vulnerability. So he tries to control what he says, but he cannot control what he feels. And those first seconds, those instinctive reactions tell you everything you need to know. Stay with me, because in a moment, we will explore how mature men reveal their longing when they believe you are not watching. And that sign is even more revealing than this one. When a mature man feels drawn to you, one of the signs that reveals his feelings even more clearly is what he does when he believes you are not watching. And this is something women over 50 often underestimate. Younger men may show interest loudly, but older men express it through quiet observation, soft attention, and subtle presence. You will notice it in the way his eyes find you across a room, not in a bold or intrusive way, but in a gentle, almost curious rhythm. He looks at you as if gathering pieces of your world, one small moment at a time. The way you smile, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself with calmness and grace. These are details he notices long before he ever considers saying anything out loud. His gaze is not the gaze of impulse. It is the gaze of meaning. And the moment you turn toward him, the moment your eyes come close to meeting, he looks away quickly, pretending he was focused on anything else. That softness, that quick shift, is one of the most honest confessions a mature man makes. Because older men learn discretion. They learn to protect their feelings. They learn to be careful with their hearts. So when his eyes rest on you more than once, it is never accidental. I have seen this happen in the simplest situations. A woman at a community centre arranging her purse, a retired gentleman nearby, pretending to look at his phone but glancing every few seconds. A widow brushing her hair back during a conversation while the man across the table notices with a quiet admiration he tries to hide. These small moments, invisible to most people, speak volumes. And here is something I want you to hear gently but clearly. Men your age do not observe women who do not move something inside them. They do not study the expressions of someone who means nothing. They do not watch with that level of softness unless there is emotional draw. Observation is not a neutral act at this stage of life. It is a form of connection. Many women tell me I think he looks at me differently, but I might be imagining it. And I always tell them your intuition is wiser than you think. Women over 50 have lived enough life to sense sincerity. If his attention feels different, it is because it is different. But his observation is not the only sign. Another powerful clue appears when you speak to someone else. Notice his energy. He may stay quiet, but his entire emotional state shifts slightly. He becomes more aware of your voice. He listens for your laugh. He notices the tone you use with another person. He may not move physically, but internally something wakes up. Not jealousy exactly, but a subtle awareness that another person has entered your space. Mature men reveal far more through silence than through speech. You might catch him adjusting something on the table, pretending to check his watch, or offering a small smile that does not fully mask what he feels. Because when a man your age is drawn to you, he becomes attuned to your presence in ways even he does not fully recognize. It is not dramatic, not loud, not youthful confusion. It is a quiet, emotional pull he feels in his chest. And sometimes, without realizing it, he positions himself somewhere in the room where he can still sense you, not to intrude, not to hover, but to stay connected enough to feel close without crossing boundaries. Older men do not chase, but they do remain near. And here is another truth many women discover only later. A mature man often gathers courage slowly. He approaches connection the way someone approaches a warm fire after standing in the cold, step by step, with respect, with awareness, with hope. His quiet observation is how he begins to let himself feel again. But to truly understand how deep his longing goes, you must pay attention to what happens not only in his eyes, but in his emotions. Because the next sign reveals something deeper. something that shows he is not just drawn to you, but affected by you. And that brings us to the next part, where we uncover how a mature man's mood shifts around you in ways he cannot hide, no matter how hard he tries. One of the clearest signs a mature man is quietly drawn to you appears in the way his mood shifts around you. These shifts are subtle, but they reveal far more truth than any direct confession. Older men do not express interest the way younger men do. They do not rush, they do not perform, they do not attempt to impress with dramatic charm. Instead, their emotions move in gentle waves that reflect both their longing and their caution. You may notice that he is warm, easygoing, and fully present during one conversation. He listens closely. He laughs more easily. His eyes stay softer when you speak. In those moments, it feels as if he has stepped forward emotionally without even realizing it. But then the next time you see him, he may appear quieter, a little reserved, more thoughtful, almost as if he is carefully pulling himself back. Many women misread this. They think, maybe he is not interested. Maybe I misinterpreted everything. But what you are actually seeing is the inner tug-of-war that happens inside a man who feels deeply but moves cautiously. His longing pulls him closer. His vulnerability pulls him back. It is not inconsistency, it is impact. This emotional fluctuation is especially common in men who have experienced loss, disappointment, or long periods of being alone. When he begins to feel something again, it surprises him. It awakens memories, hopes, and fears all at once. He wants to move closer to you, but he also wants to protect the fragile part of his heart that has learned to survive by staying steady. I remember a woman in her late 60s describing a man she had known for years. She said, "Sometimes he is so warm, so attentive, so present, that I feel like he is opening a door. And then, the next time I see him, he acts like he is guarding that door again." And what I told her is the same thing I want to tell you now. His pullback is not rejection, it is regulation. He feels something strong enough that he needs to steady himself. Men at this age do not play games. If his mood softens around you, if he becomes more thoughtful, more aware, more moved, it is because he is experiencing emotions he did not plan for. Emotions that feel real. Emotions that feel like a possibility he is not sure he is ready to pursue fully. You may also notice that when he does step back emotionally, he eventually returns with even more sincerity. His curiosity grows stronger. His presence becomes gentler. His questions become more personal. It is as if every time he retreats to gather himself, he comes back having accepted a little more of what he feels. This push and pull is not chaos. It is the natural rhythm of mature desire. A man who feels nothing remains emotionally steady. A man who feels something significant shows it in the rise and fall of his energy. And if you stay patient enough to observe this rhythm, you will begin to see a pattern. His warm moments reveal his desire. His quiet moments reveal his vulnerability. Together, they reveal his emotional truth. But there is an even clearer sign, one that many women miss. When a mature man begins to crave connection but is not ready to fully express it, he finds subtle ways to stay in your life, ways that seem small, casual, almost insignificant on the surface, but are deeply meaningful underneath. And that is exactly what we will explore next. Stay with me as we move into the next part, where his desire becomes visible through the small threads he uses to stay connected to you. One of the most revealing signs of mature desire appears not in his words and not even in his mood, but in the small intentional ways he keeps himself connected to you. A younger man may rely on bold gestures, but an older man expresses longing through gentle presence, quiet consistency, and thoughtful attention. You may notice that he sends a short message at unexpected times. Not long paragraphs, not declarations, just a simple note that feels light on the surface, but carries meaning underneath. Something like a quick question about your day, a comment about something you mentioned last week, or a small reminder that he remembered a detail you shared. These messages are never random. They are his way of staying near you without exposing how much he feels. Mature men value emotional safety. They approach connection carefully. So instead of saying, "I miss talking to you," he sends something that keeps the door open in a gentle, unassuming way. Older men call this conversation. I call it emotional breadcrumbs. Little pieces of closeness he places between you and him, hoping you will meet him in the middle. There are other subtle ways he stays connected. He might like a photo you posted days ago, one that most people overlooked. He might send you a video, an article, or a joke that reminded him of you. He might ask a small follow-up question you did not expect him to remember. These gestures are not about flirting. They are about presence. They say, "You matter enough for me to keep you in my thoughts." And here is something important. Mature men do not weave themselves into a woman's day unless they feel something real. They have lived through enough seasons to know the difference between temporary interest and genuine connection. So when he finds reasons, even small ones, to reach out, it is because he feels safer staying close than staying silent. But one of the clearest signs appears when someone else enters the picture. If you mention another man even casually, or if someone shows you attention, watch how his energy changes. Mature jealousy is never loud, never abrupt, never dramatic. It shows up in the gentlest ways. A quiet pause, a thoughtful expression, a softer tone, a slight shift in his posture. He may try to hide it, but he cannot conceal the small flicker of concern that crosses his face. It is not possessiveness. It is hope. Hope that he still has a place in your world. Hope that he matters more than he has allowed himself to admit. Hope that what he feels is not one-sided. And perhaps the most touching part is this. He does not act jealous because he wants to claim you. He reacts because he is afraid of losing a possibility he has barely begun to explore. That subtle shift in his expression is a doorway into his heart. Another deeply revealing clue appears in the way he remembers things. Not just important details, but the smallest pieces of your life. Something you said in passing. A preference you barely noticed you mentioned. A moment from your childhood. A fear you once described. A story you told with a laugh. These memories become anchors for him. They allow him to feel close to you even when you are far apart. This kind of remembering is emotional. It is intimate. It is intentional. Men do not carry these details unless someone has touched them in a meaningful way. And it leads us to the most powerful sign of all, the one that reveals the truth he hides even from himself, the one that shows exactly how deeply he feels for you. In the next part, we will explore the final window into his heart, the sign that appears not when you are with him, but when you are gone. The final and most revealing sign of a mature man's longing does not appear when you are standing in front of him. It appears in the quiet spaces after you leave. A younger man might show his interest loudly, but an older man reveals his truest emotions through what happens in your absence. That is when his guard lowers. That is when the feelings he tried to control begin to rise to the surface. A man in his 50s, 60s, or 70s has spent a lifetime learning how to compose himself. He knows how to regulate his tone, steady his posture, and keep his emotions private. But once he is alone, once the conversation has ended, once the sound of your voice fades and the warmth of your presence settles into memory, something shifts. He becomes more thoughtful. His mind replays small moments. He thinks about something you said, the way you smiled, or the softness in your voice. Your presence stays with him long after you walk away. Some women see this quiet period and mistake it for disinterest. They think if he cared, he would reach out right away. But for mature men, it is often the opposite. The stronger he feels, the more he pauses. He needs time to breathe, time to steady himself, time to understand the emotions awakening inside him. He may fall silent for a short while, not because he is pulling away, but because your presence stirred something real. And then when he returns, he comes back with more sincerity. His messages feel gentler. His questions feel more intentional. His presence feels warmer. That rhythm reveals the emotional truth he does not speak. His absence shows his vulnerability. His return shows his hope. I have seen this pattern repeat in countless relationships over the years. A man who feels nothing stays the same. A man who feels deeply becomes quiet, then thoughtful, then brave. This is how mature desire unfolds. Slow, steady, honest. When you look at all the signs together, a clear picture forms. His posture shifts when you enter the room. His eyes linger when he thinks you will not notice. His mood changes softly around you. He finds small ways to stay connected. He feels gentle jealousy when someone else steps close. He remembers the smallest details about your life, and he misses you more than he ever admits. These signs do not just show interest. They show emotional resonance. They show that you matter to him in a way he is still learning how to express. For women over 50, this kind of connection is not only possible, it is powerful, it is mature, it is deeply meaningful. If this message gave you clarity, I would love to know. Tell me in the comments which sign felt most familiar, and also share the country where you are watching from. I love hearing from women in the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and so many other wonderful places around the world. Your stories remind me why this community exists. And before we close, let me remind you, this video is for educational purposes only. It does not replace medical advice. Every woman's body is unique. If you are experiencing emotional concerns or personal challenges, please consult your healthcare provider. Your well-being deserves personalized care.